But are you ready to get to our last caller?
I can't believe it's that time already, but I'm here for it, man.
Well, this is going to be a change in pace because they want to talk about militant atheism.
Ooh.
Evan from Canada, you are on with Secular Rarity, and Ethan, how are you?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing?
Doing well,
Good.
thank you. So, you want to talk militant atheism?
Yes, yes.
Please proceed.
Well, I mean, I got to be honest. I've never watched your show. First time watcher, first time caller, obviously.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for hanging.
It was an interesting show, and my perspective of it changed as watching it through the show.
I hope in a good way.
Good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my opinion definitely got better.
Good.
At first, I was a bit perturbed by the fact that you weren't pushing back and you were joining in on some nonsensical nonsense. There's a fine line between, researching and understanding historical facts or not historical facts even, as just historical stories and expounding them as some kind of belief. And I worry that on first viewing that you guys were not pushing back hard enough, and it was more of endorsing that first viewer or first caller's point of view.
So, I mean,
the general population does need general population does need pushback.
So I agree, but where we may not agree is how much pushback, because there are, plenty of other shows that push back a lot harder. Some don't push back at all. It's genuinely trying to find the balance, because the thing is, I want to get through to the people calling in my shows. And if we just push back on every little mistake or fallacy they make, we're not going to get anywhere. They're going to clam up, shut down, and stop listening to us. And I want to get through to these people. So I think it's important that sometimes you do have to let certain fallacies or points slide to try and further the conversation and to get them thinking more. Like, I prefer a straight epistemology approach where I'm just asking questions. But doing it live, I'll be the first to admit, it's incredibly hard to determine how much pushback. Every call is different. You're in front of a live audience, and sometimes we're going to push back harder, and sometimes we're going to push back lighter. There's been episodes where I've unfortunately seen some, I've yelled or screamed at some guy, and, we've had angry callers, people hanging up. We had a psychic freaking out on us once before, her and her daughter. Like, we've had some knockdown, drag out arguments, but largely we try to be as friendly as possible. But again, it's trying to find that line.
And if I can just kind of dovetail real quick, it just want to, part of my thoughts when I go into this, and not just here, but in other discussions that I have in my daily life, I really, really try hard whenever I hear somebody say something that gives me that squinty eye, raise the eyebrow, I don't know if I'm feeling that kind of feeling. I try to take an extra second to say, wait a second, Elliot, what are they going for? What is the best interpretation of what they just said? I think what they just said on the face is just some stanky bullshit. But what is their best understanding, Because if I only understand it from the kind of cheap, oh, this is crap, move on kind of feeling, I'm concerned that I'll be, constructing a straw man, right? And it would be much better to take the time to really try and understand the best possible argument that they have and then go from there. Does that kind of make sense where Ethan and I come from on it?
Understand.
Yeah.
Totally understand. And you know what? On reflection and on listening to your show, I totally understand it's a fine line to walk.
Sure.
Between that, especially as you're trying to, draw in those callers.
Yeah.
That's the show that you guys are trying to play. I totally understand. And maybe my call is inappropriate, but
No, not at all.
just on general view of the world, and in my daily experience of life, I encounter religion being pushy on me, and I understand that sometimes people are ignorant in their pushiness.
Yeah.
But I think that atheists need to be pushier back. We need to push back. We need to, as I see, ignorance in bliss and the religion, how they push their religion, in so much as that these 17 people who were just kidnapped in Haiti, for example,
yeah.
they're stupid, to be honest. They're dumb. What are the hell they doing? They're walking into the that fellow who jumped
can I jump in
for
for a second?
In the back from Aboriginals. Like, what are you doing?
Can I jump in for a second there, brother?
It's crazy.
Hang on. Do you mind if I kind of jump in real quick? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me, because this is what I hopefully maybe I can demonstrate kind of where I come from on this. So I'm very familiar with the missionaries that were fired upon and then kidnapped, and I believe now the gang is attempting to ransom them for about $7 million American dollars. I'm familiar with
17 million.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the assassination of the president that recently happened in Haiti as well. So let me kind of push back a little, because I think I understand where you're coming from about the general population, needing to be pushed back on and so forth. But do you think
we get trampled on?
Well, do you think? Well, hang on, brother. Do you think that there's a necessity that I yell or that I respond in a manner that's particularly forceful or rude?
No. Not at all.
Do you think right now, for instance, one could pretty reasonably argue that old secular Rarity boy, he's standing his ground at the moment with this caller and respectfully pushing back on a nuanced understanding of what they just said? Do you think that's a fair understanding of what's going on between you and me right now?
How are you pushing back?
Well, so for instance, I think calling the missionaries dumb is a little bit reductionist. I think it's a little bit of trying to put them in a light where they're the person.
That's the first time you made the argument. So if you're trying to make the argument, that's now okay.
Well, what I'm saying is that since I stepped in just a moment ago, I wouldn't characterize my discussion with you as either rude or as either one where I'm getting trampled over, in which you're just, ramming your ideas down my throat or anything. And I think what I'm trying to demonstrate and trying to get at, and one of the reasons that I definitely love Ethan and love this channel, is that we do have the ability to push back, but we don't necessarily have to get so hot about it all the time, right?
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. I didn't try to come across hot.
I don't think you have.
I'm not trying to attack you. I'm definitely
no. I don't think you have at all. And I
you're
think
taking offense by anything I'm saying. I'm not trying to attack you at the slightest. I'm saying I may
have been
completely in the wrong in making the phone call.
Can you hang on just a second for us, brother? Because I apologize if it came off that I was feeling attacked or anything. I sure don't. This chair isn't super comfy, I'll be honest. I could probably get a comfier cushion, but I'm in no way, shape, or form uncomfortable. What I'm trying to say, though, is I think there is great value in pushing back in a manner that is calm and reflective on oneself and how I'm being in the situation. For instance, I live in Tennessee, where there is quite literally a church a stone's throw away from each other, and I don't throw stones very far. And what I'm saying is, when somebody comes up to me, for instance, and says, Jesus, I can just simply say, hey, I don't believe in Jesus. And and that I think is valuable pushback. Do you disagree with that?
No, not in the slightest. I mean, you're probably being more militant than I am in that sort of action. I mean, I live in Bible Belt in British Columbia here, man. I am surrounded by
For
Bible thumpers, let me tell you. But, you know, at the same time, I'm at a loss as what I should be doing to push back. I'm a world traveler. I've studied religions. I understand the world, how it is. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I would love to push back harder. I don't know what to do.
Can I give you some unsolicited kind of not really advice? I'm no expert. I really shouldn't be giving you advice. But can I give you some advice?
Sure.
My thoughts, brother, are speak to people pretty much like you've been speaking to us. I think you've been respectful. I don't think you've been a dick at all. I think you've been challenging in some manners. You've said some things that maybe I don't totally agree with, or maybe you need to clarify. And then once we come to that understanding, I think this whole time, for instance, you and I have had a back and forth that while we don't necessarily see eye to eye, we kind of seem to be looking in the same direction. And I think that's really valuable. Even if we're not 100% on the same page, you've been respectful as fuck, man. I mean, if I could just be blunt, right? Like we're all laughing, we're having fun, and that's a good way to model these discussions.
And that's what I would take into your own personal life. Like when
Exactly.
you, only if it's safe, of course.
Right.
Like if outing yourself is going to put you in danger or cause you any loss of family or friends,
Absolutely.
then of course I'm not going to say, hey, start pushing back. But it can just be in, you know, conversations with your friends when they bring up God or bring up praying. Hey, why do you pray? Do you think praying is reliable? Just simple questions in everyday life to encourage people to think critically and apply skepticism sometimes is all you need to do. And if you start doing that, I would say that's a good thing. We need more people doing that. Yeah. So that would be my unsolicited advice.
And I don't want to make it sound like I'm against those places and times where, you know, hey look, you don't believe in God, right? I don't believe in God. Ethan doesn't believe in God. Can you believe these people out there eating the crackers, drinking the grape juice, talking about their God, coming back as a bowl of crackers? It's crazy. Look, we can take our times and our spaces to maybe go a little bit off the chain, go a little bit more unhinged, because we all need those spaces to kind of be ourselves and to just kind of let loose a little bit. But when it comes to us engaging purposefully in a dialogue where we know the other person disagrees, it's not a good tactic, I think, to call them crazy, right? Or to say they're you know, fucking idiots, what a bunch of jackass. That's probably not the best way to
I didn't call them that.
No. And again, I
gotta admit, you're a missionary. You're jumping in a canoe and going to a place that you're told that these people are like really aggressive. They're gonna kill you. You step foot on their island. They've told other people, you know, other natives that, look, you step foot on our island, we're gonna shoot you with arrows. And these guys step foot on the island. What do you call that? You say that you know the story well. What would you call that? What would you call those people?
Well, you're talking about the Sri Lankan.
They're definitely ill-informed. They're definitely that.
I would say ignorant. Ill-informed.
Yeah, definitely ignorant.
Misguided. But I don't want to go as far as to start directly like attacking someone and calling them stupid or crazy. Like those are labels I would rather avoid.
Right. Here's
the root of it. Okay, life is beautiful. As an atheist, you should be able to appreciate life. You shouldn't need the church. You shouldn't need religion.
Agreed.
100%.
You know what? We are nothing but more than intelligent dirt. I put that in the chat, and I was hoping somebody would pick up on it. But realistically, we're the universe recognizing ourselves. We don't need the church. Life is beautiful. Existence is incredible.
Yeah.
We don't need that. We should push back a bit against that nonsense harder. It's silly. You know, there's no evidence for it more than there is evidence for Batman. Sorry, excuse for this. Excuse me for the swearing.
You're
No, you're
good, man. I gotta say, I
totally
It's
totally
ridiculous.
totally
It's
agree with
ridiculous,
all of
man.
that, man.
It's ridiculous.
But I think there's a time and place, right? There's a time and place for us to make the jokes and to say the silly things, and there's a time and place for us to be able to have good communication where we take an extra 30 minutes to understand a single stupid definition, right?
We
All right,
got
here's the definition for you. What's the definition for Lucifer?
Morning star.
What is? I heard Jay-Way earlier. That was an interesting one. She actually had a very interesting conversation. I enjoyed her conversation. What is the definition for Lucifer?
Morning
Here's a
star.
weird one that most religious folks don't know. It means the bringer of light.
I think that's the Lucifer. I think Lucifer means Satan, and Satan means light bringer. Is that right? Satan.
Bringer of light. I mean, the root of it is crazy.
Yeah.
Religion
Anyways,
is so
we do have
twisted. It's
to.
twisted for man's purposes. That's all it is. It's a manipulation tool, much as the internet, much as any other tool that we have. Where it's a hammer, it's a saw. It's a tool.
Well,
It's used in man's purposes to manipulate other men. That's all it is.
Evan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to call in. We are actually at the end of the show, but thank you for
Appreciate
watching.
taking
Thank you
the
for
call.
calling. Of
Thanks,
course.
man.
I hope you have the good rest of your day.
Good night, guys.
Good night.